MRIs in Vietnam. So I'm in Vietnam right now, and my calf hurts. So I was thinking, maybe I should just get an MRI. I thought it'd be simple. Just go to some hospital, say I want an MRI, and get it. Pay for it, right? Well, not so quick. Apparently, you need a doctor's authorization, which is similar but unlike the US, because the US, if you cash pay, then you don't have to get any authorization. There's no insurance, no billing, no government, nobody involved. Just get it yourself. I guess in Vietnam, everybody cash pays basically. Not much is paid for by insurance. So this is one way of limiting access, I guess. So we went to a hospital. This is not the premier hospital for foreigners, but oftentimes the foreigner hospital doesn't have the facilities for MRI, so sends them to this place. So went to see a doctor. They sent me to see a doctor to sign off first. You had to convince him, right, to get me an MRI. And I ended up being a rheumatologist who never even examined me and thought I needed an MRI of my spine. He was worried about that more. But it's interesting, and I'll explain later how the thought process works here. But the MRI process here could be different because I don't speak Vietnamese. And thus, when I go through stuff, I go through it from a different lens because they don't speak to me and say all the things they would. But first of all, with your leg MRI, it's a body part where you don't have to fully go into it, the machine. So it's not claustrophobic in the sense that you're completely enclosed, my head's still out in the open space. But it is still annoying, I would say, just to be sitting there. She just told me in English that it's going to be noisy and put on, ear protection, but it's still pretty noisy. And it's just sit there and it seems to be interminable. And that's it. And it's over. What's amazing to me is how quickly they did it. So even in the US, if you cash pay, find these private places, they may be able to get you in tomorrow, the day after. That's pretty quick. But here, we just saw them this afternoon. They're like, yeah, go schedule your MRI. They told us to go to the ED. And we went down there. They're like, yeah, I come back around 4. It was 2:30, so do something for another hour or so. Came back a little bit before 4. I was done and out of there by 4:10, and the MRI itself takes, 20 minutes? That was quick. And I think, is there a difference in quality? I mean, there's a difference definitely in radiologists reading it, but a difference in quality? Another thing is, how do Vietnamese people think going through this MRI? See, unlike the US, you don't have a safety measure in the sense you have a button you could press for emergency stoppage of the machine. But she says, I'm going to be here, don't worry. Similar to US, maybe if I were Vietnamese, she'd say more comfy words, or maybe they don't need as much because they're just tolerating it. Hey, this test is for my benefit, I'm going to tolerate this, right? I think there's a lot of differences in terms of how technology is used in one place versus another. It's the same technology, but we use it in different ways. Why is that? Is that a good thing? Does it matter in the end? Because it's all the same, right? No, it's not. I would venture to say it's not all the same. And I want to say my second point. The way we think about the diagnostic process is different in Vietnam versus the US. I just talked to somebody else who worked in the insurance business, medical insurance. And I was saying, I'm thinking that we should change our paradigm for diagnosing people. So someone comes in with their leg hurts. So in the US, you say, yeah, probably nothing, go to therapy. They go to therapy months later, they're like, my leg still hurts. Like, maybe we should investigate. Then we'll finally do something like an MRI. She said, no, we'll just do an MRI first, make sure that's fine, and then you could go ahead and get therapy. And the thing is, we say that it's because it's such a low probability of something actually wrong with your leg, like a cancer or something. Those are very rare. Cancers of the bone are rare. Cancers of your muscles are very rare. And so the probability is so small, so we just treat it as normal. We presume it's normal. But is it because we really think that? Or is it because of the payment structure? And the insurance companies don't want to pony up for a test. The thing is that MRI doesn't hurt you. It's non-invasive. You're not giving any contrast. There's really no risk unless you freak out and have a panic attack and I don't know what else. But it's just money. There's no radiation, ionizing radiation, if you want to be specific. And so why wouldn't you just get tests and reassure them, and then they could focus on just working on feeling better? What? So I think that one thing is, in terms of thinking about how we process things, we have different methods of logic, shall we say. We all have our own logic, and my logic may be different from your logic, right? Some people like to do step 1, 2, 3, everything in a row. Some people say, why don't I just skip to step 4? If it doesn't work, then I'll go back and try step 1, 2, right? 3. And if you look at trying things nowadays, younger people, you give them a new device or a new app or this or that, they don't bother reading instructions. What are instruction manuals anyways, right? These big books that they have from decades ago that should belong in some prehistoric library. So you just basically jump right into it, and it doesn't work out. You figure out, okay, I think I need to figure this out. Let me watch some YouTube videos on how to. I thought it was pretty simple installing the garbage disposal for the sink, but it didn't work out so well. So let me go back and investigate a little bit more about the theory or how you're supposed to do this. Whereas some people, they read through it first and then read it again, make sure they have all the parts, right? Is there an ability to say one way is better than the other? If so, there's no way to say, why is one logical form of diagnosis better than the other? Why isn't it just rule out all the serious stuff first, as in actually do the testing, and then reassure the person, and then proceed to make them feel better? Is that a valid way of doing it? I would say yes. Maybe there's something we could learn from Vietnam and other countries. I mean, there's certainly something I learned.